Hi, I'm Daniel, 35, and 2 weeks ago I found out my family's been renting out my house behind my back to pay off their debt. It all started with a weird knock on my door at 9:45 p.m. on a Thursday. I was home alone, halfway into a glass of wine, in my sweats, watching a true crime doc I'd already seen twice. I wasn't expecting anyone. I assumed it was one of those door-to-door flyers or maybe a lost Uber Eats guy. But no. It was a couple in their 50s, both holding luggage, and the woman was holding up her phone like a confirmation screen. "Hi! We're here for the weekend rental." I blinked. "What rental?" The guy looked confused. The Airbnb? Pretty sure this is the right address. Your sister Tanya handled the booking." Cue the inner horror. My sister Tanya? Airbnb? I told them, very politely, that there was no Airbnb, and this was my home. As in, I live here. The woman frowned. She said she was managing it for her brother who travels a lot. That's when my brain snapped fully awake. Because I do travel for work sometimes, but I sure as hell don't Airbnb my place. And I definitely haven't spoken to Tanya in months, not since she, accidentally, crashed her SUV into my mailbox and ghosted me on repairs. I offered to help the couple find a hotel. They were gracious, if annoyed, and left without making a scene. But I stood in the doorway afterward, stunned. Why did they have my address? What did Tanya do? And how long had this been going on? The next morning, I pulled up Airbnb. I searched my address. There it was. My house. My actual house. Listed under the name Mountain Lux Urban Retreat. Photos from inside. Including a picture of my bed. With my dog in it. I just sat there with my jaw in my coffee. And then I called my parents. Which was a mistake. My mom picked up on the third ring, all cheerful like nothing in the world could possibly be on fire. "Danny! We were just talking about you. Tanya says you've been traveling a ton, so exciting." My jaw clenched. "Yeah, about that. Did you know she's been renting out my house?" Dead silence. I could hear the nervous gears turning. Finally, she let out this weak little laugh. "Oh, you found out about that? You ever feel your blood pressure spike so fast it sounds like a kettle boiling inside your ears? Found out? Are you kidding me?" She listed my house, without my permission. There were strangers on my porch last night with luggage. They thought they were staying for the weekend. Mom tried to shush me like I was the one being unreasonable. "Calm down, Daniel. It's not like anyone got hurt. Tanya just said you weren't using it much and because I travel for work. That doesn't mean my house becomes a side hustle for the family." Then came the classic move. The shift. The guilt grenade. "She was just trying to help, sweetheart. You know she and Greg have been struggling. And you, well, you've always been the independent one." Ah, yes. The independent one. My lifelong punishment for not blowing every dime on pyramid schemes and jet skis. I hung up before I said something I couldn't unsay. And immediately drove over to Tanya's place. She wasn't there, of course. Just Greg, her husband, half asleep in a tank top on the couch, playing some more game with the volume blasting. Their 3-year-old was naked and eating string cheese directly off the floor. I walked in and asked where Tanya was. He didn't even look up. Out. Why? She's been Airbnb-ing my house without permission. Now that got his attention. He paused the game. She said you knew? Lie. She said it was like a family deal. No deal was made. No discussion. No consent. And I'm changing the locks today. He stared at me, then mumbled something like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't leave it empty all the time." I left before I threw their television through a window. When I got home, I did exactly what I said, changed the locks, updated my security system, even ordered those motion detector floodlights. I was done being the nice brother. That night I got a text from Tanya. Wow. Real mature. "Hope you enjoy living alone in your big lonely house. You just cost me $2,000 in cancellations." I replied with one word. Lawyer. Then blocked her. I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. The explosion came 3 days later. I was on a Zoom call for work, giving a presentation to a client in Tokyo, when my phone started vibrating nonstop. First it was Greg. Then Tanya. Then my mom. Then my dad, who never calls unless someone's dead or the Wi-Fi's out. Something was wrong. I wrapped up the call early and checked the messages. All caps. All insane. Call me now. Police at the house? What the hell did you do? It took me another 5 minutes to figure out what actually happened. Tanya's latest guests had still shown up. Even after I shut down the Airbnb listing, changed the locks, and posted no trespassing signs. Why? Because Greg, absolute genius that he is, told them it was fine. That I was cool with it. He gave them his own key copy that he had made during a barbecue last year. They drove 6 hours from Nevada with kids and coolers and folding chairs. And arrived to find my new security system blaring at them like a siren of judgment. According to my neighbors, they tried to disable it, pulling cords, covering cameras. Eventually, the motion sensors triggered the silent alarm and sent a sheriff's deputy straight to my front porch. That's right. Cops. Guns drawn. Children crying. Apparently the dad tried to explain everything. Showed them the Airbnb confirmation. Greg's name. Tanya's profile. Even offered to Venmo them the cleaning fee, right there. Didn't matter. It was breaking and entering at worst, criminal trespassing at best. They were escorted off the property. And that's when Tanya's meltdown began in earnest. She showed up at my place that night. I didn't even get a chance to open the door. She was screaming through it like some suburban banshee before I touched the handle. You humiliated me! Do you know how this makes us look? I stood there stunned. She wasn't even pretending to be sorry. You brought the cops on innocent people. No, Tanya. You did. You sent strangers into my house like it was some rental cabin. You lied to them. You gave them an illegal key. You committed felony stupidity. She started crying. Not like someone who's in pain, like someone who's trying to pivot to victimhood. You don't get it. We're drowning. We needed the money. The rental was the only thing keeping us afloat. I let her sob. Let her say the word family 15 more times. And then I said the one thing I knew she wasn't ready for. I'm pressing charges if this happens again. And you're banned from my property. Permanently. That was the moment she lost it. Kicked the door. Screamed like she'd been betrayed by the gods. Greg was waiting in the car and tried to honk me into changing my mind. Didn't work. They left skid marks on my driveway. But guess what? The story didn't stop there. Because my parents had just found out the real reason Tanya needed the money. And they weren't happy. My mom called me the next morning, sounding like she'd aged 10 years overnight. I need to talk to you about your sister. Now you have to understand, my mom is a world-class enabler. Olympic gold. She once made excuses for Tanya stealing my Game Boy by saying, well, you weren't using it. So hearing that tone from her? That was new. She came over last night in tears. Greg, too. Said you kicked them off your property and threatened to press charges. I didn't say a word. Just waited. Mom sighed. So I finally asked? Straight up. What's going on? Where's all this money going? Another long pause. Then she said, they're $40,000 in credit card debt. Their car's about to get repossessed. Greg got demoted at work for, get this, moonlighting as a rideshare driver during office hours. And Tanya's been secretly renting out your place for over 6 months. I had to sit down. 6 months? Apparently longer. They'd been careful about only doing weekends when you were out of town. But once she realized you weren't monitoring the place closely, she upped the frequency. Said she made over 15 grand this year. My jaw dropped. And where's that money now? They blew it. Vacations. Spa days. New phones. Tanya bought a damn hot tub. I'm not even kidding. A hot tub. Greg installed it himself, and apparently it's sinking into the backyard because he didn't level the ground first. But here's the kicker. Mom said. She told me they expected you to understand. That you had so much, and they had so little. That it was only fair. That word again. Fair. It's always fair when they're taking something. Never when you're saying no. Mom started crying then. I'm sorry, honey. I should have seen this. I just didn't want to believe they'd do something so stupid. For once, I didn't say, it's okay. I didn't try to make her feel better. Because I was pissed. Not just at Tanya. Not just at Greg. But at everyone who looked at my success and decided it was communal property. Later that night, I got another text from Greg. One line. Hope you're happy. You ruined your sister. And for a second, I almost felt bad. Until I remembered the couple standing on my porch with their suitcases. My sheets. My towels. My toothbrush probably moved by strangers. Nope. They ruined themselves. But it turns out karma wasn't done yet. Because the next week, Tanya got evicted. I found out about the eviction through my dad, of all people. Which is hilarious because the man once claimed TikTok was a kind of clock and thinks Venmo is a cult. He called on a Sunday afternoon while I was cleaning my garage. No hello. Just, she's out. I blinked. Who's out? Your sister. Evicted. Sheriff posted the notice Friday morning. Greg tried to argue with the guy and ended up getting cuffed for obstruction. Dad actually chuckled. Moron. I leaned against the toolbox. Wait, what happened? Turns out they stopped paying rent 3 months ago. Landlord gave them 1,000,000 chances, but Greg kept promising money from some family investment. I didn't have to guess what investment he meant. So Tanya and Greg, who'd been illegally making money off my house, weren't even paying for their own. Apparently not. And once the rental income dried up, courtesy of yours truly, the whole house of cards collapsed. They had 2 days to get out. Greg's truck broke down during the move, and they had to borrow a trailer from a neighbor they'd stiffed on a landscaping bill last year. I'm told the neighbor filmed the whole thing and posted it to Facebook with the caption, "Blessed." But that wasn't the best part. No, the best part came the next morning, when I got a message from Airbnb's trust and safety team. Turns out Tanya had used my name and a fake photo ID to verify the listing. That's right. My own sister committed identity fraud. And left a digital trail so sloppy, it basically came with a "Hi, I'm guilty" name tag. They were permanently banned from the platform. And I was offered a free year of identity protection. Which is something, I guess. Later that week, Mom and Dad asked if I could maybe talk to Tanya. She was living in a motel with the kids. Things were hard. Christmas was coming. I told them I'd think about it. And by think, I meant absolutely not. Because what happened next proved that Tanya still hadn't learned a damn thing. She tried to rent another property. One owned by my ex-girlfriend's parents. Let that sink in. She used a different fake name, forged pay stubs, and even claimed to be a freelance luxury lifestyle coordinator. But guess who her would-be landlord called for a reference? Me. Let's just say that application didn't go through. And that's when I realized something vital. Tanya wasn't just entitled. She was dangerous. And I was done playing nice. The next move came fast and dirty. A week after the failed rental scam, Tanya served me papers. Not even kidding. She sued me. Technically, Greg was listed as a co-plaintiff, but this whole mess reeked of Tanya's signature delusion. The lawsuit accused me of unjust enrichment and emotional distress. Yes, emotional distress, for shutting down the illegal Airbnb operation she ran inside my house. It was a 6-page fever dream that claimed I had knowingly allowed them to depend on the property for survival. And then, cruelly and without warning, denied them access. My favorite part was when she called herself a hospitality entrepreneur. The judge was going to love that one. I took the papers to my attorney, Evan. He read them in under 2 minutes and said, "This is a weaponized temper tantrum in PDF form. You'll be fine." Still, it meant court. Depositions. Filing responses. More of my time, my energy, my money. And somehow, Tanya convinced our parents to take her side again. Mom called me crying, begging me to settle privately. Just give them access to the house again. She sniffled. At least until they find something new. Think of the kids. I nearly threw my phone out the window. Mom, I said, if Tanya walked into a bank and stole 10 grand, would you ask the bank to let it slide because she has kids? Silence. Their family. No, they're leeches with a family discount. I'm done. Click. But that wasn't even the worst call. A few days later, I got one from Greg's employer. I thought it was spam, but the guy introduced himself as the director of HR at Greg's firm, a private defense contractor that apparently requires its employees to maintain a clean criminal record and a security clearance. Which, funny enough, is hard to do when you've just been arrested for trespassing, vandalism, and impersonating your brother to commit fraud. I didn't even have to say much. The guy asked for confirmation of a few events, and I told the truth. Calmly. Professionally. By the end of the call, I knew Greg's career was circling the drain. Later, I got a single-line email from Greg. You just cost me everything. No apology. No admission. Just blame. Classic. But karma wasn't done. Because remember that fake ID Tanya used? Yeah, the DA was very interested in that. And suddenly, her little civil lawsuit got completely overshadowed by something far more serious. The DA's office called me on a Wednesday afternoon. I was on my third espresso, powering through emails, when I got a very calm, very official voicemail. Mr. Carter, this is Investigator Ramirez from the District Attorney's Office. We'd like to speak with you about a recent case involving potential identity fraud and misuse of private property. Please return our call at your earliest convenience. My heart did a full backflip. When I called back, Ramirez was matter-of-fact. We're looking into several complaints tied to your sister, Tanya Carter. Airbnb provided documentation indicating she created a listing under your name, including a government-issued ID. We've confirmed that ID was doctored. Apparently, using a fake ID, even just for hosting an Airbnb, is a felony. Especially if it's tied to financial transactions. Especially when the victim, me, has made it very clear he didn't consent. I asked if she'd be arrested. He paused, then said, We're not there yet. But we are strongly considering filing charges. I sat there in silence. It was one thing for Tanya to wreck her life. But this was the point of no return. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was vaporized with a flamethrower. That night, I got an email from her. Not a text. An actual email. The subject line? Let's fix this. It started off almost human. Apologetic. Claimed she never meant for things to go this far. She panicked. She felt desperate. There was even a half-decent admission of guilt. But then, the twist. I think we both know this got bigger than it needed to. If you're willing to withdraw your statements and help me walk this back, I'm sure we can put it behind us. Ah. There it was. The veiled threat. The subtle manipulation. The plea disguised as a bribe, disguised as a peace offering. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer. The next day, Tanya showed up at my parents' house in tears. Screaming. Accusing them of choosing money over blood. She called my mom a coward. Called my dad a traitor. When they asked her to leave, she punched a decorative wall mirror. Cut her hand. Bled on the carpet. She was gone before the paramedics even arrived. Greg called later that night and told my parents I'd ruined her. That I'd destroyed the family. But this time, my dad didn't flinch. She destroyed herself. He told Greg. We're done. For the first time in years, I felt like my parents saw what I'd been dealing with. The lawsuit was withdrawn the next week. The DA formally filed charges for identity fraud and unlawful misrepresentation. And Tanya? She disappeared. No one's seen her since. But the silence didn't bring peace. Because one last thing was still hanging over me. And it showed up, at my doorstep. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No emails. No surprise guests claiming they booked a spa weekend in my living room. I'd almost believed the storm was finally over. I was even sleeping again, like real REM cycle sleep, not the paranoid 2-hour naps where you dream your sister's in your closet with a camera and a key fob. Then one night, around 10:30 p.m., I heard a knock. Not the aggressive, rage-punching kind Tanya favored. This was soft. Hesitant. The kind of knock that made my stomach drop faster than a bad roller coaster. I checked the doorbell cam. At first, I didn't see anything. Then a shape moved. A figure, partially hidden behind the porch column. I turned on the porch light. It was Tanya. Alone. No car, no bags. Just her, standing in a hoodie, looking like a ghost someone forgot to bury. I didn't open the door. Just picked up my phone and turned on the mic through the security system. "You need to leave." She looked up at the speaker. "Daniel. Please. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to ask for money. I need to say something." Against my better judgment, I cracked the door. Chain still on. She looked rough. Hollowed out. Her left hand was bandaged, probably from the mirror punch. Her eyes were rimmed in red like she hadn't slept in a week. I didn't speak. Just waited. She took a shaky breath. "They're charging me. I know. I'm probably going to lose custody." I said nothing. "I was stupid," she said, voice cracking. "I let Greg talk me into it. He said we'd only do a couple weekends. He said you'd never know." I finally spoke. "But you kept doing it. For months. You gave strangers keys to my house. You forged my ID." Tanya nodded. "I know. I know all of it. I was desperate. We were drowning. And you were just so far ahead." That last sentence landed like a sour cherry on a moldy cake. "There it is," I said. "You think I deserve this because I did better. Because I saved. Because I didn't make the same dumb choices." "No," she whispered. "I think I was jealous. I still am. That caught me off guard. You always made the right moves. You never needed help. You didn't screw up. I hated that. And instead of fixing my own mess, I just turned yours into a lifeboat." She looked down at her hands. "I lost the kids. Temporarily. CPS is involved. They're with Greg's sister for now. And Greg's somewhere? He left. Took the truck. Haven't heard from him in a week." A flicker of pity sparked in me. I shoved it down. "I didn't come here for you to forgive me," she said. "I know I don't deserve that. I came to say I'm sorry. For real. Not for show. Not to get anything. Just sorry." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "I turned myself in today. They're offering a plea deal. Probation. Fines. Community service. But the fraud charge is sticking." She paused. "If you ever do sell the house, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't trust myself not to spiral again." There was a long silence. Then she turned and walked down the steps. No hug. No promises. Just footsteps fading into the night. I shut the door. Locked it. And sat on the floor, back against the frame, breathing like I'd just finished a marathon. I wanted to feel triumphant. Like the villain had finally been vanquished. But all I felt was tired. Not sad. Not angry. Just tired. The next morning, I called my parents and told them what happened. They didn't say much. Just listened. My mom cried. My dad muttered something about finally replacing the damn front doorbell Tanya broke back in high school. It was his way of coping. Over the next few weeks, things stayed quiet. No more surprise lawsuits. No more fake Airbnb guests. No mysterious rentals or stolen towels or weird reviews about too many family photos. I started going back to the cabin again, my vacation home. Just for weekends. Just to sit on the deck with coffee and watch the sun crawl over the mountains. My wife and I even talked about selling it. But something held us back. Maybe it was the peace. Maybe it was the simple joy of knowing it was ours again. Untouched. Uncompromised. Safe. Last I heard, Tanya took the plea. Got probation, fines, and 300 hours of community service. She's working part-time cleaning offices. Greg's out of the picture completely. She might get custody back, but only if she keeps a job and stays out of trouble. I wish I could end this story with some profound family reunion. A moment where we all learn and grow and hug in slow motion while a piano plays softly in the background. But that's not real life. Real life is quiet boundaries. Real life is a locked front gate and cameras with night vision. Real life is choosing peace, even when you're offered chaos disguised as family. So, no, I didn't forgive her. But I let go. Because sometimes, the only way to win is to stop playing the game.